They said the night the spirits first answered, the moon turned red, and the dogs refused to bark. That was the night our village signed a covenant that would cost us more than hunger ever did. Long ago, in the thick forests of the south-south region of Nigeria, there was a village called Obinaka. Obinaka was not always cursed. Once, it was known for rich farms, strong fishermen, and children whose laughter echoed from sunrise to sunset. Palm trees swayed gently, and the river never ran dry. But everything changed the year the rain stopped. At first, the elders said it was a passing season. Then weeks turned to months. The soil cracked. The river shrank. The yams rotted before harvest. Hunger entered Obinaka like an uninvited guest and refused to leave. Mothers tied wrappers tighter around their waists to silence their empty stomachs. Fathers sat outside their huts staring at dry farmland. Even the village chief, Chief Adigwe, could not hide the fear in his eyes. The gods they had worshipped for generations seemed silent. And silence is dangerous when people are desperate. One evening, as the sun melted into the horizon, a stranger walked into Obinaka. He was tall and lean, with white chalk markings across his face. Around his neck hung bones and cowries. His eyes, they did not blink often. He introduced himself as Dibia Nwoke. "I have heard your cries," he said in a low voice. "The spirits have not abandoned you. They are waiting." The villagers gathered around him like moths to fire. "Waiting? For what?" "For an agreement," Dibia said. "The spirits of the ancient forest are powerful. They can bring rain. They can restore harvest. They can make Obinaka greater than ever before." Chief Adigwe stepped forward. "And what do these spirits want in return?" Dibia smiled slowly. "A covenant." The elders met that night. Some argued against it. "Our fathers never served the forest spirits," said Elder Obi. "We have our own gods." But hunger speaks louder than wisdom. Mothers cried. Children fainted from weakness. Finally, fear won. They agreed to hear the terms. The ritual was to take place at the edge of the forbidden forest, a place no one entered after sunset. The moon was full that night. Drums beat slowly. Fires burned blue. Dibia stood before the villagers and began chanting in a language none of them understood. The wind picked up suddenly. Leaves swirled. And then the ground trembled.
We are victorious!
A deep voice echoed from the forest.
The light returns.
"We will restore your land. We will fill your barns. But every year, you will give us what we demand." The villagers looked at each other nervously. "What do you demand?" Chief Adigwe asked. There was silence. Then the voice replied, "The first fruit of your prosperity." The people whispered, "First fruit?" That seemed fair. They had always offered first harvests to the gods. The voice continued, "And when we ask, you will not refuse." Fear crawled up their spines. But rain began to fall that very moment. Heavy, powerful, unstoppable. The villagers shouted with joy. They did not notice Dibia's smile in the firelight. That was the night Obinaka entered the covenant. At first, it seemed like a miracle. The river overflowed. Crops grew faster than ever before. Fish were plentiful. Obinaka became the envy of neighboring villages. People traveled from far away to trade. Wealth poured in. Chief Adigwe was praised as a wise leader. Even those who doubted the covenant began to celebrate. Until the first demand came. 1 year later, during Harvest Festival, the wind returned. Cold, unnatural. Dibia appeared again, as if summoned by shadow. "It is time," he said calmly. The villagers prepared baskets of yam, palm oil, and fruits. But Dibia shook his head. "The spirits do not want crops this year." A heavy silence fell. "They want the first son born after the covenant." The crowd gasped. Chief Adigwe staggered backward. The first son born after the covenant was his own grandson, little Chima, only 1 year old. "No!" the chief's daughter screamed, clutching her child. "You said first fruit of prosperity." Dibia's eyes darkened. "And what is more precious than your future?" Thunder roared above them. The sky turned gray. Crops began to wither instantly before their eyes. The river water receded as if sucked away. The spirits were reminding them of their power. Panic erupted. "If we refuse, we lose everything," some villagers cried. "But he is just a child," others shouted. Fear and greed began fighting inside every heart. And fear was winning again. That night, Obinaka broke. Neighbors turned against neighbors. Some said the sacrifice must be made to save everyone. Others said the covenant was evil from the start. Chief Adigwe faced the hardest decision of his life: save his grandson or save the village. As he sat alone in his hut, Elder Obi entered quietly. "This is what happens when desperation leads," the old man said softly. "We invited darkness." Chief Adigwe's voice trembled. "What choice do we have?" Elder Obi looked at him steadily. "We refuse." The next night, the entire village gathered again at the forest. Dibia stood waiting. "Have you brought what the spirits demand?" he asked. Chief Adigwe stepped forward.
"No."
A violent wind exploded around them. Trees bent. Fire pits scattered. The deep voice thundered. "Then lose everything." Rain stopped instantly. Cracks split the ground. But something unexpected happened. Elder Obi began to pray loudly, calling on the ancient god their fathers once served before fear changed their path. One by one, others joined him, not chanting, not bargaining, but repenting. Dibia screamed, silence. But his voice was growing weaker. The forest roared angrily. Yet the villagers stood together this time. For the first time since the drought began, they were united. Suddenly, lightning struck the ritual altar. It burst into flames. The chalk markings on Dibia's face began to burn like fire. He fell to the ground, screaming. The wind stopped. The forest grew still. The heavy presence lifted. Dibia crawled away into the darkness, never to be seen again. And the covenant was broken. The next months were not easy. There was no instant miracle. The land remained dry for a while. But this time, the people worked together. They shared food. They dug deeper wells. They farmed with patience. And slowly rain returned. Not because of a bargain, but because seasons change. Obinaka never became the richest village again. But it became something better. It became wise. Years later, when children asked about the red moon night, the elders would say, "Power without patience is dangerous. Prosperity without principle is destruction." And they would always add, "Never trade your future for quick relief." Because Obinaka learned the hard way that every covenant has a cost, and sometimes the price is too high. Now tell me, if you were Chief Adigwe, would you have sacrificed one child to save the village? Or would you risk losing everything to protect your own? Tell me in the comments, because sometimes the hardest battles are not with spirits. They are within us.